Biology tells us we share an evolutionary tree with primates, but ancient Eastern philosophy pushes that timeline much further back, arguing that our spiritual ancestry begins not with apes, but with vegetation, animals, and even silent, lifeless stones. In this view, we are walking archives. We actively carry the psychological remnants and behavioral urges of every primitive life form that preceded us. Acknowledging this ancient baggage provides a clear lens for understanding our darkest, most inexplicable impulses as a species. Recognizing this deep evolutionary past is the only way to facilitate our final, highest transition as a species. Before biological life, before planets or stars, there was an absolute silent void. The ignition point of the cosmos was a massive primal vibration, a sound often referred to in Eastern texts as the kavayo or onkar, which sent violent shockwaves through the emptiness. As the fiery remnants of this cosmic expansion finally began to cool, they solidified into the universe's first physical form, the stone. This rock phase set the absolute baseline of existence. It represents a state of completely dormant consciousness, entirely devoid of physical needs, thirst, or pain. The journey from an explosive cosmic sound to dead, silent matter forces a profound question. How could a lifeless rock eventually wake up and learn to think? It took millions of years for solid rock to weather down into soil, creating the conditions for vegetation to emerge. And with plant life came the very first flicker of conscious desire, thirst. This chart maps scaling consciousness. From the rock at 0, we move up to vegetation, where the metric is thirst. Over time, life enters the animal kingdom, introducing movement, vocalization, and hunger. Finally, it peaks with the human mind, introducing intellect, compassion, and morality. Millions of years of physical evolution successfully built the biological hardware necessary for complex language and empathy. But reaching the end of the physical evolutionary line does not mean the human mind is completely formed. This brings us to the concept of sanskars, deep psychological imprints and behavioral tendencies carried over from our ancient evolutionary stages. A person can be born with a fully developed human brain, yet operate entirely on the base, unfeeling urges of an animal. The most extreme manifestation of these imprints is the stone mind. This is a psychological state of impenetrable coldness, characterized by a terrifying and total lack of empathy. When we look at historical tyrants, men who ordered the slaughter of millions without hesitation, we are looking at the stone mind in action. These atrocities aren't the work of supernatural monsters. They are the result of a primitive, unevolved consciousness piloting a modern human body. What we call human evil is simply a failure to shed the psychological baggage of our lowest ancestral forms. Humanity occupies a transitional phase, a middle ground waiting for a final, decisive evolution. Just as raw, rough earth can be extracted and refined, the human mind must be actively polished to strip away its lingering animal and stone instincts. Under the right conditions, a dense, dark rock can be transformed into a brilliant diamond. The human mind possesses the exact same potential for clarity. The mechanism for this psychological polishing is deep, intentional meditation, often referred to as Simran. It requires pulling one's attention away from the external world and directing it entirely inward. Nature forced our physical bodies to evolve from stone to human without our permission, but the final leap to the divine requires our active, conscious participation. When the mind is finally purged of its primitive imprints, the individual begins to perceive an internal frequency, a continuous, unstruck vibration known as the anahad nad. This internal frequency is the same primal vibration that initiated the expansion of the universe billions of years ago, still echoing within the human body. Fully evolved mystics, like the Sufi saint Mansour, focused on this sound until their consciousness merged with it entirely, dissolving the boundary between human and divine. This leaves us with a stark choice. We can let our minds remain in the psychological state of a rock, or we can do the internal work required to expand. The ultimate trajectory of existence is a cosmic closed loop, We emerge from the silent stone, navigate the chaos of biological life, and consciously reunite with the original voice of the universe.